jealous at the fact that we weren't celebrating it. And that just really is a really honest reflection of my flesh in the moment. Hey guys, welcome to A Homesteading Hustle, and today is day 14 of non-vlogmas here on my channel. And I promised on day 1 that I was going to share why it is non-vlogmas here on A Homesteading Hustle. And that is actually because we don't celebrate Christmas anymore. We did at one point, and we had a heart change, and now we don't bring it into our home. And so I thought I'd share that with you today. So I am not going to be showing you anything, so just grab a cup of something if you want to sit and listen, or some laundry to fold or something. I'm just going to chat and have a conversation with you today. So I will preface this video by saying that we are indeed believers in Jesus as our Messiah. We do believe that he is our salvation and that he will return indeed. And so with that being the preface, and we not celebrating Christmas, that sounds kind of strange, I'm sure, to many people. Why would we not celebrate the birth when many other Christians around the world are doing so? And so moving forward, I will just say, if you celebrate Christmas, I am not judging you. I celebrated Christmas for many, many years. It is not a salvation issue. I do not think that it is an issue that we should divide over as the body of Yeshua, which is Jesus' Hebrew name. And so I'm simply sharing our current position and how we arrived here. You can take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so let's start out and just give you a little bit of history about my family. So I did not grow up in a Christian home. And so when it comes to Christmas, it was never about Jesus' birth for my family. It was always just very commercial. Definitely what you see in the stores is what it was in our home, that was fine. That isn't the way I was brought up. And so when I met my husband and his family, it was definitely a different sort of celebration. It definitely had more of a let's celebrate the birth of Jesus, but there was the commercial stuff on top of it. So it was kind of an intertwined celebration. Now when we had kids, we carried that out into how we raised our kids for the first, handful of years. Our oldest kids are 10 and 12 now. And we stopped celebrating. This will be our 6th year not celebrating. So they would have been like 4 and 6 years old when we stopped. And we included them in that decision and in that learning process. And we came to that conclusion of not doing Christmas anymore because we had a conversation in 2017. And that would have been probably at the end of summer that we had this conversation with some family members, and some things were brought to light that I personally had never heard of. And that actually revolved mainly around the pagan roots of Christmas. Pagan is not a word that I had ever really heard about, and so I didn't really know much about it. So at the time, I kind of just took it with a grain of salt, and I was a bit resistant to it because I have always loved Christmas. I just think it's fun, it's like joyful, and I love giving gifts. That's definitely like one of my love languages, is giving gifts. And so in that moment, I was very much like, yeah, no, we don't have to give up Christmas. Like, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I was very like, I would not say I was moved in that moment to stop celebrating Christmas, but it definitely planted some seeds going forward. So fast forward to Christmas of that year, which would have been 2017, we did indeed go through with celebrating Christmas. And I remember specifically feeling like something was off. It just didn't feel as joyous or as exciting. And I definitely tie it back to now knowing the information that I had learned earlier that year, just a couple months prior. And so there was a heart shift that had happened, and I wasn't even receptive to it. It just totally changed the way that Christmas felt. So we went through that Christmas, and it was the following summer. I was watching a video, which I'll link below, and it's called Truth or Tradition. And it's a very detailed overview on the history of Christmas and really a lot of information that is not heavily known if you don't seek it out. in my opinion. And so after watching that video, I remember being in the kitchen of our old house, and my husband had come in. He was outside mowing the lawn, and he had come in having kind of a similar moment about a different topic. And he came in and I was like, I can't do Christmas anymore. And he was like, okay, like he totally, he understood it, and he's much more knowledgeable in a lot of that stuff than I was. So it was that moment that I really had a heart change. And I just felt like I can't go through with knowing what I know and continuing to celebrate Christmas. So if you're completely lost right now because you're like, I don't really get it, maybe pause this and come back to it and just go do some research, or even watch that Truth or Tradition, because it's definitely something, if you're a believer, definitely something that might speak to your heart. So after having this heart change in that moment, obviously this is the middle of summer, so we had, all the way until December to kind of like think it over, or if we even wanted to change our mind on it. But Christmas came and we did not participate in it. And I remember throughout that season feeling maybe a bit resentful and almost like jealous at the fact that we weren't celebrating it. And that just really is a really honest reflection of my flesh in the moment, and just not wanting to give up something of the world. And that was something that I didn't realize, that I enjoyed Christmas so much. I didn't realize that I had that strong of a feeling towards it. And so when we cut it out, there was a mourning period for me, for sure. I definitely remember feeling almost annoyed that more people didn't know about the pagan roots, and that if they did know, that they were ignoring it and they were able to ignore it. And I was definitely, really, again, in all honesty, I was feeling jealous that that they were able to do that. So with that being said, yes, there was a mourning period, and that year in particular was specifically a bit more difficult. When it is something like Christmas and it's so prominent in everything you do and everything you see that time of year, and you've done it, you've always done it, and that's your first year like not participating in it of any sort, it feels weird. But we made sure to include our kids in our thought process and why, and that was, obviously we didn't just, pull it out from them and not tell them anything. We gave them explanations and reasons, and really were really honest with them about it, and they understood. And they were pretty young, and so their understanding is limited at that time, but they were receptive to it, and they were fine. Now over those next few years, it became easier, but after that first year, because that's when like the hard cutoff, we cut out everything all at once. I remember we went through like our ornaments and like just Christmas decor, and just chucking all kinds of stuff, like just throwing it away and feeling really like almost guilty to like keep a lot of it in our home. And so threw a lot of that stuff away. And then over the next few years, it had become easier. The season would come, and it wasn't as much, it didn't faze me as much. I didn't feel as like left out. But what I did notice is the people that were close to me, or that knew that we had stopped celebrating Christmas, it became kind of awkward that time of year, because it's like they didn't know how to talk or communicate with me. Almost like, well, she doesn't celebrate Christmas, so like this is weird and awkward. And so I remember, that specifically feels kind of weird, and I didn't like that feeling. Now since then, so I would say that was definitely the first couple years of having a complete harsh like resentment towards it, softening my heart a little bit to that's just how we live now, we don't do it. And now I would say over the last couple years, because this is our 6th year not celebrating it, I've had some realizations about some of it. And although we still do not bring it into our home, not everything this time of year is Christmas. We initially threw away, lights and just random things that that really don't have to be Christmas. They can just be winter things. And so my heart has softened towards a lot of it. And now I feel definitely more comfortable and more open to just being able to embrace the winter season and just not allowing the specifics of Christmas intertwine into our home. And I mean specifics of Christmas meaning, like, you know, we're definitely not bringing Santa into our home. We're not bringing a Christmas tree into our home, which I'll give you a side note on both of those. I didn't really grow up with Santa. I mean, yeah, there was gifts under the tree that said from Santa, but it wasn't a heavy focus in our home. I didn't leave out cookies or anything like that. And neither was my husband's family. So that was easy for us not to do. And we actually didn't do that before we stopped celebrating as well. So Santa was never really part of our anything. And the Christmas tree, obviously, they're beautiful. I mean, why would you not think a Christmas tree is pretty? You have lights on some evergreen with some other decor, and it's pretty. But that is definitely something that we cut out. And when we moved into our home we have now, I will be completely honest and say that I would have loved to see a Christmas tree in our current home, because we have this really gorgeous like wooden loft, and a tree would look so beautiful there. But a tree is something that I feel pretty strongly about at the moment. As far as bringing into my home, I do think that a lot of people, when referencing the Christmas tree and like pagan ties, they will reference Jeremiah 10, which does reference, like, you know, the grabbing a tree from the forest and stringing it up with gold and silver and all that stuff. But it's actually not specifically talking about a Christmas tree. It is talking about idolatry and idols. But it is hard to dismiss the fact that when we put a tree in our home, that we are not idolizing it. And what I mean by that is, think about, like, example, the song "Oh Christmas Tree." I mean, we're standing around this tree and elevating it to and like bringing glory to the tree. And I think that that's probably something that I shouldn't have in my home. And so that's currently my position on that. And so that is one thing that we definitely don't partake in when it comes to this time of year. So when it comes to things this time of year and, you know, putting up twinkly lights, I love me some good twinkly lights. I'm all about it. I have twinkly lights on my porch all year round. That's just something I love, but they're not Christmas lights. And so I think there's a fine line in being careful with not calling everything pagan and just kind of demonizing everything. I think that is a bit of a dangerous road to go down, and that is kind of initially what we did when we made this change, is we kind of like completely cut out everything fun this time of year. Like, we even cut out like making cookies, because it's like, oh, Christmas cookies. Well, they don't have to be Christmas cookies. Why can't we just make cookies this time of year? Because it's fun to make cookies and it's warm and cozy, and I like to bake in the winter. So my heart has softened towards a lot of that stuff, because I think it can be a very a point in when it comes to our relationships with others. And if we want to truly be a light and share the truth in what we know about Scripture and about who our Creator is, and about His Son, I think we need to be somewhat relatable. Now, I'm not saying to be part of the world and to continue doing, you know, Christmas in maybe the ways of that the pagans worship their gods, and that's kind of where I'm getting at when it comes to, if Christmas isn't actually the birth of Jesus and we're utilizing it as a way to worship Him, why have we crossed those paths? And so I think that's a path that can be really destructive if we completely separate ourselves and allow ourselves to not be relatable to, you know, those around us, whether it's our people in our family, in our home, our friends, or even if you're on a social media platform. like YouTube, you know, being able to be approachable and have conversations and not elevate yourself above others is incredibly important. And that's never something that I want to do. And so the fact that initially when we first like cut everything out super like hardcore, I think that made people that were around me very like hesitant to even like speak to me around that time or about Christmas at all. And I didn't like that. You know, I think if we want to be the light and be fruitful and show people who our Creator is through our actions and our words, I don't think we should conform to the world and become, you know, and do these things because we want to be of the world. I think that we need to be aware and have a reality check of what it is that we're doing. And so if there, like for me, if there's heavy pagan ties to some of this, heavy consumerism within this season, and it's actually been a blessing for our family to not be stressed out this time of year about, you know, buying a ton of extra gifts and, you know, rearranging work schedules to make gatherings happen. And really honestly, it's not stressful. And I find incredible peace in that. Is there times that I feel like left out of things? Yeah, sure. But I do think that as a believer, there's going to be things that we choose in our life or convictions that we have where we will feel left out of the world, and that's probably a good thing. So again, I am not elevating myself above anybody, saying I'm holier than anybody, because I am far, far from that. But this is just one area in our home that we have had the conviction on and that we currently don't partake in. And this is our 6th year not doing it. So with that being said, I hope that this made sense and that nobody takes offense to anything, because I am ultimately not the judge of anybody. All I can do is answer for myself and hopefully lead our children on a path of seeking our Creator. So if you have any questions or opinions or thoughts or whatever, feel free to leave it down below. I'll do my best to answer or reply to anything. I do know that these type of topics are heavily sought out this time of year. And so if you are new to my channel and this is the first video you're seeing, I'm more than happy to do more like this. This is not typical, but I definitely can, per request. So with that being said, I will continue my non-vlogmas as well as I can. It is hard to video every day. So hopefully this gives you a little bit insight as to why it is non-vlogmas on my channel. I thought it would be kind of fun to participate in a daily video, and so non-vlogmas it is. All right, thanks so much for watching. I am incredibly grateful for all of you, and have a wonderful, blessed day.